All right, let's get into October the 4th, 2024, where, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of interesting stuff has gone on and not a good way to start this month off. But if I had to say anything, guys, I might as well just talk about the stuff that happened yesterday another time. But as for dedication and memory, I was planning on doing UFC, The American Dream, UFC 3 of 1994, but I'm just going to save that for another time. So, with all that being said, with everything going on, guys, this will be no more than just a 45-minute podcast. Stuff to talk about boxing. I'm not going to talk about everything for life, but because this video is dedicated to the memory and due to the title of the video, I will say, to do all due to respects, I will say the information. So I did got one comment that was somewhat blocked for some reason. I don't know why, even though I can read it in my YouTube studios, but you viewers can't read it for some reason. The person in the comments said, are you going to get another cat soon? And my reply to that is, I'm going to think about that next year. Because for two reasons. A, I still have stuff to do with the house, get the stuff clean, get the roof repaired. And even though we got 80% of the house done, the whole area of the top, it's just the garage that's the only thing that we need to clean up. So I think a healthier life, a healthier house is a better life for a cat to live in. But because my cat was an outdoor cat, because guys, it's hard. The second reason is, well, obviously, to be honest, guys, a man like me at 26 years old, it's hard to take care of a family life, and it really is that tough because I think when you look at it from afar, you viewers have to understand. Now, guys, this podcast is all about boxing, nothing else. But let me just explain to you viewers the lifestyle I'm in, and try to be nice in the comments. So let me explain. You viewers have to understand one thing. I live in the state of Maine. You know what the state of Maine is right now? We have a bunch of cities, roads that aren't repaired, but there's other places that are worse. Telephone poles, not underground, because where I live, telephone poles are, yeah, it's like we're still back in the old days. Like that's the only thing. But yet again, guys, as of right now, there's a lot of Somalians building apartments. And ever since my father is trying to protect this property that I'm living in, because we don't want Somalians or black people or anyone to take over properties around the world of the state of Maine. And I don't want to accuse those type of people. I don't. But when you're living for a long time and you're having business people, whether they're Chinese businessmen or any other type of people trying to take your property, you just got to go to war. And I'm trying my best to live that through. And with a father that has arthritis like me and living through a house that can't handle everything, I can't live a life here. And with a house and all people, we try to call people on phones and tell them, hey, you don't mind trying to clean our house up? We'll give you $50. And I'm trying to ask for an editor. I'm trying to get popular. And I'm still getting jealous that Shy Lily, the VTuber, is getting more subscribers every single day. And Markiplier is getting farther and farther. To be honest, Markiplier has been gone for a month until we uploaded a video a few days ago, but still. The more that happens, the less I cared about taking care of my cat Lucky. So when you add all those ingredients up and having the outside world do that, and the white people are taking drugs and such, and making us white people in the state of Maine go to hell, and there's no celebrities here to know, there's nothing here to be popular at. So when you add all those ingredients up, yeah, it's just a hard life to live. And I just wish people can understand that. I really wish people could understand, but you people don't. And I just don't know why. So I think, and to be honest, guys, ever since my father went to the hospital, like my cat, like his heart was already broken. Like when my dad left this house and went to a hospital due to his arthritis, my cat never saw him again. That might have been the heart that broke him. My cat never even finished high school. You know how old a 1-year-old cat could be? 14 years old if he was human. I guess I may never have a family life. I may never have a family. I might never get married. I'm too old to have real kids. I'm 26 years old. I don't know what to do. But anyway, guys, enough talking. But as said before, I am dedicating this episode, the podcast, the GLOAT podcast, as it is. So, yes. But yes, as planning, I'm going to think about getting a cat next year. So anyway, guys, it's almost been 6 minutes since this podcast started. So let's just get down to business. And sorry for this squeaky chair I'm sitting on, but so try to ignore it. But anyway, guys, here's the news report that really does upset me about my cat's death. Lucky day. Is that as looking this up, guys, we just heard reports that Don King was already going to promote out a cruiserweight title match about some time ago in October or so in his next pay-per-view. But wait, before his celebration of the Rumble in the Jungle in 74, by September last month, King was hospitalized for an unspecified illness that required a blood transfusion. With widespread concern for King's health, when by the time when being promoted, at the time, the whole world was widespread. And that was, and included Mike Tyson in the media when he was interviewed saying, you know, Don King is not doing well right now. He's probably close to 100 years old. He's not doing well. At that moment, I think just Tyson is already happy to see this happen. Like guys, as of right now, Don King just turned 93 years old last August, as he's 6 days before my birthday, so that's crazy. At this moment, guys, I don't think his son Carl King or even his other son Eric are going to do anything for promotion. I don't know if the King family are actually going to do anything if he does pass away. We don't know if Carl King is going to be off promoting, and even so, I don't know if he can save the promotion. So yet again, whoever thinks the promotion it is, because I don't know when the last time we've heard reports about Carl King, except the time during the movie of Don King Only in America that was released in 97, or the time when Unauthorized was a documentary back in the day when Carl stepped in to at the time during the Razor Ruddock and Tyson fight. So I don't know. I really don't know. It's crazy that Don King is still living, and it's such a hate thing. Like seeing my cat pass away and King still alive, no. And by the way, guys, what's even crazy is that King, I did not know this, but as a politician and active, he supported Barack Obama from 2008 to 2012. And during the previous election, he had made media appearances promoting George W. Bush, which had included the attendance in the 2004 Republican National Convention in New York. So at this moment, who is he? Is he a Republican or a Democratic? Well, at the end of the day, does it matter? Probably best not to talk about it. And speaking about that stuff, politician, he already made a video online about the time when Donald Trump was involved with the first assassination, not the second one, the first one, and he made a video, this or that, of talking about this or that. So it makes you wonder, and again, it doesn't matter what branch you're in. It doesn't matter if you're independent or reappendant. It doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, it is hilarious. I actually didn't know that until looking up the information about Don King's health. But yeah, at this moment, Don King, since he started becoming a boxing promoter when he first promoted back in 1972 in Ohio, in arena in Cleveland, Ohio, back in August of 72, and about a couple months later or so, he did the Black Hospital saving thing with Muhammad Ali and that thing. and then promoted another show in Cleveland November of 73, and then a full year. They go to Africa in October the 30th in 74, that famous Rumble in the Jungle. And look at this, we're about a few weeks away from that anniversary, and is this the moment where Don King is gone for? At this moment, Don King, after Rumble in the Jungle and after his last promotion in June the 6th against that, Jesus, what the frig fight with Michael Hunter and Cassius Chaney fight was, dude. There's nothing much you can say about this. This is like the final nail in the coffin for Don King here. Like after celebrating his 50th anniversary in 2022 with his promotions and how he still had Trevor Bryan holding on to the WBA championship only to lose it in June against Daniel Dubois. Yeah. It just makes me want to blow my nose. It's like, guys, it's something that Bob Arum and any other promoters try to do to try to eliminate Don King. And Frank Warren, the promoter, did it. Like, he just defeated out Don King. And as of right now, as we're speaking, we don't know much about what happened to Jonathan Goudry. As of right now, he's still in his last 4 fights. He's already won on fights since April of this year against a nobody. But again, I think they've already stated that he's out of promotion with Don King. So I really don't know what to say about that. So yeah, if this should be the final nail in the coffin for Don King here, just said, like, come on, is that it for Don King? It's just give it up. It's like he already achieved enough already. Like, so it's probably for the best. And by the way, let me look up. I actually heard that mostly Bob Arum is also around that time. Like, Bob Arum is also. It's funny that Bob Arum is born in December 8th of 31, just like Don King in August the 20th the same year, and he's 92 years old. Sheesh. Man, these boxing promoters are still out there today. I don't know what to say. This is pretty crazy. I don't know what to say. Like, these guys, seeing these boxing promoters last longer than any other boxer out there goes to show you what the environment of boxing is. Like, what about Daniel Dubois's promoter, Frank Warren? He's 72 years old, and yet again, guys, seeing Frank Warren destroy out Don King in 2022 for that fight with Dubois, even though he was boxing Don King's promotion, not his promotion. He wasn't doing it that day in June when Dubois defeated Bryan. It was just all Don King only promotion. 2 years later, he defeats Eddie Hearn in a 5-match competition in 5 matches against, and how that ended. Like, dude, Frank Warren is on fire. Like, guys, Frank Warren, whether or not, yes, he didn't win the undisputed belt with Tyson Fury and lost against Usyk, but yet again, it's pretty good for what they're doing. I kind of enjoy it. Whew. Glad that's over the way. By the way, guys, while we're on it, guys, as looking up my favorite boxers, because I do click a lot of followers on BoxRec, and one's an unusual name from the country of Turkey, the Anatolian Lion named Umut Kamkiran. You want me to spell it? Umut, U-M-U-T, space, that's his first name. His last name is Kamkiran, C-A-M-K-I-R-A-N. Well, yeah, just ignore my hand movement. I don't know how to spell it, but that's how you spell his name. This guy is now ranked number 49 in the world. He's number 1 in his country, considering he's been boxing in Germany his whole life. Even though he has boxed in Turkey back in 2013, and he did once boxing Russia in his second fight in 2014, but then that was his only fight. Then in 2015 and the other years, he fought in Turkey for his whole life. And at one point in 2018, he did fought in the country of Albania, and then went back again, and then even before he boxed in Albania, he also boxed in a place called Montenegro, and then after the end of that decade in 2020, he moves to Serbia to fight there, and then by 2021 he's boxing in Germany. And his resume in Germany by 2021 and 2022 were not great. No. But by 2023 he comes out and does one fight differently, and then by December last year he takes on a random guy that was no more than a jobber in his early year, losing 5 fights. His first fight was a loss. His third fight was a loss. His sixth fight was a loss. Seventh was a loss. And his ninth fight was a loss. Like, this guy, and his name is Eddie Delabaltaglu. And this guy's record was dumb. Until he finally got some wins. And then he became the GBU World Heavyweight Championship, which is a minor weight belt, but I'll just count it as a world heavyweight title. It's still a world heavyweight title. The Global Boxing Union champion, he won the belt in 2022, and he picked up a couple interesting wins for the WBC Asian Continental title, only to lose against Kamkiran, and which in BoxRec it says it said that Umut won in round 2 by 12 seconds of KO, but on YouTube I found the fight, and it lasted more than 2 rounds. Like 3 to 4 rounds of a fight, and it didn't last quickly in the round. So I don't know why BoxRec made a huge error for that. And then come April this year, he takes on Thomas Salek, a guy that's won a lot of fights but lost fights against great competitors, and he was already a bust, considering he was fighting for the WBC CISBB heavyweight title, and Umut barely won that fight by 10 rounds of unanimous decision, barely winning like 6 or 7 rounds. And then come September the 28th last week, he takes on Osasu Otobo, a guy that in his first 8 fights were against nobodies, guys that lost a lot of fights and barely won a fight, or some didn't. Only for his next fight in his 9th fight was against a guy that had a 9-3 record and went 4 rounds of distance and scored a draw. 2 weeks later, he takes on another person with 11 wins, 11 losses, goes round 3 DQ. And then 2 months in May, he goes 11-2 against another fighter and wins. Guess what happens last week ago? With a 10-0-1 record, Umut destroyed him in round 2. And guess what? I look up on BoxRec, they're fighting again on October the 5th, tomorrow. Last week ago, Umut defeated him. Now they're going to have a rematch for the titles. But I looked it up, and before the fight, it said that Umut Kamkiran was going to defend the WBC both belts that were the Asian heavyweight and the CISBB heavyweight title. So what gives? This doesn't make sense. Like, now he's 22-0, and now they're gonna put him 23-0. And what's crazy is that they're leaving the country. This fight took place in Germany on September the 28th. Guess what they're fighting in now? They're going back to Umut's backyard where he was born in Turkey to have the rematch. Guys, even if Umut does win this fight, he's 23-0, 20 knockouts, make it 21st knockout if he does. 60 rounds, 22 bouts, 90.91% knockout ratio. From 2013 to 2024, he's had interesting stuff. He's 35 years old, 6 foot, and the less he weighed in a boxing fight, like the lightest weight he's ever been in a fight was at 250.75 pounds, and that happened back in February the 13th, 2016. The heaviest he's ever weighed in his life is 286.5 pounds. And that took place in June the 24th, 2023. This guy's weight differentials, a 6-foot dude, when you look at his weight, it's not that pleasant to look at. Now, guys, I can say that Umut Kamkiran might get a a fight against a top promoter where a promoter will give his opponent a warm-up fight. Like, for instance, guys, I can imagine Yumat Kamkiran might get a big fight one day against a fight that's going to be a real squash match. Like for instance, just like when Joey Zhang, after he scored that majority draw against Jerry Forrest in 2021, so they brought him a tune-up fight against Craig Lewis in November, and then they had a fight in May of 2022 against Scott Alexander, which were just two warm-up fights for Zhang before he took on against Phil Pergovich, and then the rest fights with Joe Joyce, Joseph Parker, and Deontay Wilder, blah, blah, blah. So I can expect Yumat Kamkiran might get a fight with someone, and it's going to be an easy win for them that will rank them up higher as long as they don't screw it up. Because, guys, Kamkiran's 35 years old. This Turkish guy's overweight. After 11 years, he's already... and you viewers are probably wondering, how good is his resume? Guys, his best fight are not good. Guys, his fourth professional fight in May of 2015 was against a guy named Alexander Kal, a guy with 20 wins, 12 losses, and 1 draw. And Yumat won that fight by first round KO for the Universal Boxing Federation European heavyweight title. And then fights later, after scoring a win, first round knockouts and other wins against fighters that were jobbers, losing more than 5 or 6 fights of a 6-fight losing streak. It's ridiculous, but that's boxing. And then his 9th professional fight in December of 2017 was against a guy named Goran Delic for the WBC Mediterranean heavyweight title. And by the end of first round, the fight ended by corner retirement. And Goran Delic was 31-2 at the time with an okay record. But believe me, by the very end of the round, Yumat already knocked him down by the very end of that first round, and he decided not to get back and fight for the second round. So, yeah, it was a bummer. And you're probably wondering, was Goran Delic in a winning streak at that time? Well, yes, he was, but by July, after he was 31-1. Back then, when he lost against Juan Carlos Gomez in 2014, a guy that had a really dangerous record as a cruiserweight back then, 54-3, had no chance. He got injured in that fight, and that was it. And by the way, Goran Delic is from the country of Bosnia and Herzegovina. I'll just say Bosnia. But yeah, it's not a lot of competition is there. But with a record and the title, yeah. And the guy lost against Fireate Arslan, former cruiserweight champion, in July of 2017. Fireate defeated him, and 5 months later, Goran took on against Yumat, and Yumat did worse than Fireate did. And the rest of the guy's career was dead. So, yeah. And then by 2018, everything else went downhill. He was still taking on nobodies. And then he took on against Arnold Juraj, a guy that's now a current WWF World Boxing Federation World Heavyweight Champion as of right now. So he is a heavyweight champion. People are calling that a major title, which is hilarious. And surprisingly, Yumat defeated him, and that took place in April the 19th, 2019. And he won that fight for the EBU external heavyweight title when Arnold was 32-2. His record was a lot more better, but yet again, not much, but for a title. He defended that title, and by the end of the decade, he left Turkey and went to Germany and everything else, and the rest of his resume was not good until he won those 2 belts for the WBC. So he is a multi-champion, and of course it's he's won 5 heavyweight titles, boxing titles, so he has proven himself. Even if he wins this fight in rematch, it's not good enough. I just don't see that level of fortitude. Yumat just doesn't have what it takes. I just don't see him making it that far. But like I said before, if someone says that Agit Caballel, because Agit Caballel is number 4 in the heavyweight right now, and he's 25-0. So if we get to see a fight against him and Umut, we'll get to prove how good Umut is. Because, guys, keep this in mind. Agit Caballel still has a little bit of a tippy-toe problem, because after his fight against Agron Smaksiksi in March of 2023, when how that fight went on and how Agron really hurt Agit in the first couple rounds, only for Agit to come back and squeak that fight out in the 3rd round and knocked him out. That's crazy. Like, no wonder people thought that Arslanbek Makhmudov was going to defeat Agit. But Agit just made a mistake. But man, oh man, that fight when they did in the Day of Reckoning that day in December, and Agit won that fight, comes back and defeats Frank Sanchez in May. Yeah, that was crazy. So if we get to see a fight with Agit taking on Umut, and if Agit wins, as long as he doesn't make another mistake again, this will be a good point to say which is the best German fighter, considering, yes, like Umut is from Turkey, but he's boxed in Germany a lot as of right now for the last few years, so who knows, but it'll be interesting. But yet again, if Agit doesn't have any fights to do this year after his month of May, then he might as well fight against Umut and just get some experience rounds into him and just try to see what to do if he's in a dangerous situation, because Umut barely squeaked out some fights in his career. So I think we should see that, just to see if Umut is a bummer or not, because he's 35 years old. Agit is 32, but Agit's body is better, even though he's at 238.5 pounds. But yet again, he's a much better shape than Umut. So, and also it says here that he's 6'3" and a 80 reach advantage, while Umut, we don't even know what his reach advantage is except being 6 foot. So we should probably check that and see what will happen as time goes on. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So, guys, this is going to be interesting. Junto Nakatani, WBC World Bantamweight Champion, will step in to defend the belt for a 2nd time. Considering this is his 3rd fight this year, he's going to take on 76-1 Tassana Salapat. Yeah. Guys, on paper, you can say to yourself that these two could put on a good show. But when you look at the resume, the records are there. Like, we have 76 wins, 1 loss against 28 wins, and 0 losses. Japanese versus Thailand. Now, guys, as Thailand fighters put a lot of work. They box a lot every day. They take on a lot of competition in their country. They nonstop fight. They keep fighting nonstop. But the problem is, a lot of their fights are being a hype job. And even though Tassana Salapat has performed 407 rounds in 77 fights with a 69.74 knockout ratio since 2011 to 2024 as a southpaw fighter, and even as his alias name is Pech CP Freshmart, he's 30 years old, he's southpaw, 5'6.5", 68.5 reach advantage. There's a problem. This guy's resume has taken a lot of turns. Like, as a WBC youth world flyweight champion, a silver super flyweight champion in the youth at the time. And but the thing is, his resume has taken on a lot of fighters that were interesting competitors at one point for some time, except Jeffrey Kurna in 2012, which was his most best fights. He was a youth silver WBC bantamweight champion, but yet again, those champions and the fights in his resume at the time were not that good. His competition, his resume, his fighting nonstop every year, it's crazy. He defended the WBC youth silver bantamweight a lot in his career. But when you look at his resume, it was crazy. And by 2018, he was rated at the WBC a lot. But his record and his resumes were lousy. And by the end of September of 2018, he emasculated a record of 48 wins, undefeated. And then on December the 30th, 2018, he left his country to go to a Japanese fighter in his backyard. And that was Naoya Inoue's brother, Takuma Inoue, for the WBC interim world bantamweight champion. Now, if you were saying to yourselves, maybe this guy had a 48-0 record, he was going to win a fight, win a champion, and then retire undefeated 50-0. Say, hey, I did better than Floyd Mayweather. Look at my record. Yeah. What was this guy thinking of? The fight ended with 3 judges scoring all 12 rounds, 117 to 111 in favor of Takuma. And of course, Takuma, a year later, he actually did fight for the WBC World Bantamweight Champion later in 2019, only to lose against Nordine Albawi. And the rest of his career was going downhill because he barely fought some interesting competition in 2021 and 2022 and 2023. His resume wasn't going there. And it took a while for him until he finally became a WBA World Bantamweight Champion, as of right now, just like the other Japanese. But so he managed to recover from his career. He managed to recover. Even though his brother Naoya Inoue is the monster. But it's great we have 2 brothers that are world champions. But Tassana, this guy, after his loss, he comes back in April, back to his country, and takes on a 6-6 fighter. And then months later, he takes on 2 fighters in their debut. Another fighter with 0 wins and 1 loss, 13. And then November that year, he fights for the Oriental Pacific Boxing Federation Silver Bantamweight Champion, the WBC's Asian Silver Bantamweight title in February of 2020 as well. The resume and the fights and the fighters, the records, there weren't a lot. He was just his best fight was against a guy named Chaiwat Buatrathok, a person that was 33-3 at the time in April of 2021. And that was the best fight for Tassana. And then he just fights, nobody fights again. He goes nonstop every single time to wait for a title. He even stripped out part of a title once to fight for a vacant WBC Asian bantamweight. He's won a lot of belts, but the resume's not there. He defeated an undefeated fighter at one point last June in 2023, and then won another fight in September that same year, 3-0. But by the end of the year, nothing else has happened. By March, he takes on another nobody. He barely squeaks a good 10-round fight for the WBC Asian bantamweight against a nobody last July, and now he's going to fight against Junto Nakatani, a guy that has a better resume, even though some of the fighters don't have a lot of great records. So I wouldn't call Junto Nakatani a level A fighter. A level B fighter, I would, but if I was him, I wouldn't step up to bantamweight yet. Yes, he's a 3-time weight champion, a triplet champion, but yet again, I think he should just put some titles on the line and retain the titles more before he steps up to weight class. I don't think he's ready to take on Naoya Inoue, but yet again, you'll never know. But this fight is a squash match. That's all I'm saying. There's nothing much here to talk about. It's a waste of time. So this is just going to be an embarrassment. And it's crazy because this fight is also going to take place in Japan. This Thailand guy is 76-0, undefeated in his country, but he's 0-1 in Japan. Now he might be 0-2, and if he defeats Gento Nakatani, oh my god, that would be crazy. But yeah, again, this guy screwed up getting a golden 50 after losing against Takuma Inoue. And Gento Nakatani, this is just a mismatch fight. It's an easy win for him, and I nothing much to say about it. This is just going to be an easy fight and an easy win. And like, this fight's going to take place on October the 14th this year, like 10 days from now. It's going to happen in Ariake Arena in Kotoku, Tokyo, Japan, by the Japanese Boxing Commission, with promoter Akihiko Honda of the promotion. So it's going to be really interesting to see. We also have other titles on the line, which might be interesting. But guys, I really don't know what to say about this. This fight's a mismatch. This fight is a mismatch. And I really don't know why we have to watch this. It's like Junto should win this fight. And by the way, guys, this one is going to be really, really different. The last topic I would like to talk about is Oscar Collazo versus Thamanoon Nyongchong, a.k.a. Knockout CP Freshmart. Guys, I did not know that this fight was on the line. And guys, if I have to look back at my playlist, let me go back a little bit, because this is just... Guys, I even made a list and later realized I even wrote down on my screen at the time when making this. So guys, Ricardo Lopez is a minimum weight, undefeated, retired champion in the minimum weight and in the light flyweight. In October 25th, 1990, he won a piece of the minimum weight title. But he decided to step up to light flyweight in his final years. And by September the 28th, 1999, all the titles that he had, even the one he won 9 years ago, were all vacated. All gone. That record of his longest title reigns, that's the longest in the minimum weight division. 8 years, 11 months, and 3 days. Simple. Knockout CP Freshmart as Thamanoon, he was a WBA regular champion back in June 29th, 2016. He defended out that belt 7 times in his time, but after his 8th title defense, part of a the Super WBA championship at the time was vacated away, and the belt was the WBA Super minimum weight champion, the Super World. So they got rid of the WBA regular belt, but the WBA Super was his 8th title defense. Keep that in mind, guys. The WBA regular and the WBA Super are both major titles. So after his 7th title defense, they got rid of the regular and gave him the WBA Super in his 8th title defense. They still counted it as his first reign. Keep that in mind. So he does that for a while. And by 2021, he managed to squeak out amazing KO victories. And by July, he takes on Sheafone Moonsri, a guy that was 54-0, but they decided, no, keep boxing until you lose. He lost. Won a nobody fight, and then fought in a rematch and lost again. He fought another nobody in a friggin' no contest, only to lose against CP Freshmart. What an embarrassment. And after that 11th title defense, he was out of boxing since September the 7th, 2024. He was out of the boxing ring for over 25 months. That's just, it's ridiculous. And his returning fight in his 12th title defense was against Alex Winwood from Australia. The guy was 4-0, and his resume was not that bad considering what his first several fights were. His first fight was against 3-2 for a West Australia state light flyweight title, only to win an international WBC light flyweight title several months later against a 21-1-2 and no contest fighter. And then that person dropped down to go to minimum weight for the WBC international minimum weight, won another fight in December against another interesting fighter. And the records and resumes were pretty interesting for Alex Winwood. He was a young, good fighter. And there was some talk of what CP Freshmart felt in his last 2 years out of the ring. He comes in, he fights the fight, and he barely wins it. One judge had it 113 even, but the other two had it 114 and 112. Because CP Freshmart knocked down Winwood a couple times in a couple rounds. And without those rounds, he barely won 6 rounds in that fight. Like CP Freshmart did somewhat handled out to win a good amount of those rounds, considering how his opponent Alex demolished him in round 1, round 3. It was crazy. And there were times that he won around round 10 and probably round 6 and round 2. There were some interesting rounds that made you wonder, maybe he won this, won that. And CP Freshmart did knock him down in round 7, round 9. The first knockdown was somewhat random, the way the person fell. And the second knockdown was not that much to talk about, but there were still knockouts. I did had CP Freshmart demolishing out round 1, round 5, and the 2 knockdowns rounds in 7 and 9. He dominated round 8. Those were the 5 rounds that were interesting enough. And mostly any other round would have been close enough. I did almost thought maybe round 2 was a round for CP Freshmart, but you could count that as that. The fight was, it's a really confusing fight. You could say that CP Freshmart won and Alex Winwood won. I think that's the problem, because CP Freshmart was out of the ring for 2 years, and this is how he won the fight. He's not a knockout artist. He has 9 knockouts in his 25 fights with 218 rounds, 36% knockout ratio since 2012 to 2024 in his 12-year span. And now they're going to fight this title in November the 16th in 2024 against WBO World Minimum Weight #1 minimum weight champion BoxRec Oscar Collazo from the United States. You just fought 2 months ago since September the 7th, and now you're going to fight again this year considering you were out of the ring? No! Guys, CP Freshmart should take several months off, wait until the month of June the 2nd, because keep this in mind, guys, after looking at the resume and even following along everything that's happened recently, because keep this in mind, it's not it's going to be really, really tough to look at, because when looking at these numbers and as I'm typing them in, as of right now, this month of October the 4th, which is now the day right now, like, CP Freshmart has held on to the WBA title for now 8 years, 3 months, and 6 days today. And if I had to go to calculate how many days he's going to have to keep that belt until he puts on the line on December the 16th, and let me type this information off. I know we're past the 45-minute mark, so I should end this episode, but let me look up the days. Let me calculate how many days. June 29th, 2016. Guys, look up on timeanddate.com. You'll do time durations and such, known as days calculator, days between two dates. That's where I'm on right now, if you're probably wondering. So, wait, was it November the 16th? November 16th, yeah. So you calculate. So June the 29th, 2016 to November 16th, 2024. And they also had to include an end date to calculation, 1 day added, but I'm not going to do that. But yeah, you add those days, you have 8 years and 4 months and 18 days. 8 years, 4 months, and 18 days. Sheesh. Oh my gosh. 8 years and 14 months and 18 days. Guys. And if I had to... And how many days would you be off? Wait, let me try this one more time. And how close would that be from the date if he actually breaks the record? Because the record is on June the 1st, 2025 is the year he'll tie up Ricardo Lopez's record of the longest reigns. He'll have to wait 6 months and 16 days until then. Dude, CP Freshmart wants to earn it. Well, good luck, because when Cecilia Breckhouse, former women's undisputed super welterweight, tried to earn it after trying to break friggin' Joe Louis's record for the longest reigns and the most title defenses, lost against Jessica Moscow in 2020 because of Lawrence Cole, the referee, screwed up and effed it up and messed the fight up, and they had to give a rematch only for Jessica to dominate that woman's ass. This is ridiculous. But I guess if you have to earn defending the title to become a legend, I guess I can't blame CP Freshmart for taking this fight early on. But guess where this fight's going to take place? It's going to take place in Riyadh, in Saudi Arabia. Are you kidding me? They are going to... Guys, now I'm looking at the paper right now. I'm looking at the resume of the scheduled fights right now. We have Gilberto Ramirez defending his WBO cruiserweight against Chris Billam Smith. Jose Carlos Ramirez versus Arnold Barboza Jr. That'll be an interesting fight. And now we have the WBO and WBA middleweight champion against Oscar Collazo. Dude, CP Freshmart was out of his country for a long time, boxing nonstop in Thailand. Goes to Australia in September, wins, and now he's going to Saudi Arabia. Dude. Now, if this is not, guys, if this is not the 50th anniversary of the Rumble in the Jungle fight, like 50 years ago, we had a heavyweight fight against Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman for big titles. Now we're having a minimum weight fight, 50 years. Guys, if they don't promote this as a 50th year anniversary of a Rumble in the Jungle of two small minimum weight fighters, America versus Thailand, I don't know what they're doing, because this is going to be a mini Rumble in the Jungle fight here. That's going to be great. Dude, this is going to be a fight. You know what? This makes sense why they wanted to put this fight as sooner than possible. You know what? Good win for... Guys, even if CP Freshmart loses, you know what? Give him respect. He's the most feared fighter, just like George Foreman, and Oscar Collazo is American. So you know what? Why not? Oscar De La Hoya of Golden Boy Promotions and boxer Benjamin Shalom Promotions. are going to be involved with this, with matchmaker Javier Razo and event name of the Latino Night, which is the event of the pay-per-view, but I call it the 50th anniversary of the mini Rumble in the Jungle. So I wish you viewers best of luck. Wish Gilberto Ramirez the best of luck to keep the Mexican crowd going for his side for Cruiserweight. And thank you viewers for watching this episode. I wish best of luck for Oscar Collazo and CP Freshmart for the Middleweight Championship. I wish them best of luck. This is going to be the greatest Rumble in the Jungle fight I'll ever watch. And I hope they have this fight full when I watch it. But man, oh man, hope you viewers enjoy this video. And know what? If my cat's up there right now watching this, thanks for being on my side, man. With that being said, thanks for watching. Foxwolf out.